Welcome, future cadets! If you're gearing up for that highly competitive admission test, well, you're in exactly the right place. Let's dive straight into this ultimate exam blueprint explainer. We've specifically tailored this candidate a bird Tuejono. We're taking the exact source material you need to know and breaking it down visually, so you can just lock it into your memory and recall it the second you sit down for that exam.
So here's the golden question for you. How strong is your science prep right now? Because if you want to completely ace this test and secure your spot, you've got to confidently answer this by mastering those high-yield textbook facts. And hey, we're not just talking about casually reading the material here. We're talking about deeply understanding the whole shebang. Examiners absolutely love to test your foundation. You know, the rules, the strict classifications, and the fundamental differences that separate one category from another. And that is exactly what we're going to conquer today. Okay, let's look at today's target topics for cadet preparation. We'll be covering Section 1, Measurement and SI Units, Section 2, Key Characteristics of Life, Section 3, The Five Kingdoms, Section 4, Plant Classification, and finally, Section 5, Animal Classification.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Measurement and SI Units.
Listen, you absolutely must memorize these 7 fundamental SI units. Why? Well, because examiners love testing these global 1960 standards. It's a guaranteed point score. If they ask for length, you automatically know it's the meter. Mass is the kilogram. Time, temperature, electric current, luminous intensity, and amount of substance, they all have their strict, unchangeable base units. Lock these 7 into your brain right now. They are literally the building blocks for every single physics problem you're going to encounter on the test.
Now, knowing the base units is great and all, but you really have to know how to scale them instantly. 1 kilometer is exactly 1,000 meters. 1 meter breaks down into 100 centimeters, and 1 centimeter contains 10 millimeters. When you're sitting in that exam room, the clock is ticking, right? You won't have time to second-guess these crucial conversions.
Moving right along, here is Section 2, Key Characteristics of Life.
So think about it like a biological checklist. For anything to be considered truly alive, it has to exhibit these 6 specific traits. First up, nutrition. Organisms must take in food to survive, whether they're making it themselves or consuming something else. Second is growth and development. Cells multiply and the organism matures. Third, we have energy transformation, which is basically turning that nutrition into usable energy for the body. Fourth is reproduction, the ability to produce offspring to keep the species going. Fifth is response to stimuli. Think of a plant growing toward the sunlight, or maybe a mosquito flying away when you try to swat it. And finally, number 6, adaptation. This is the incredible ability to adjust to environmental changes over time just to survive. If it doesn't check all these boxes, guys, it is not a living organism.
Next up is Section 3, The Five Kingdoms. All right, let's build the ultimate master map for all living organisms using this famous 5 kingdoms system. Seriously, every single living thing you have ever seen or will ever see in your lifetime fits neatly into one of these categories: Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, or Animalia. And the primary split? It happens right at the very top, a clear line between organisms with primitive, unorganized cells and those with true, highly organized cells.
Now watch out for this, because when examiners compare the first 2 kingdoms, Monera and Protista, they are definitely setting a trap. It all comes down to one thing, the nucleus. Monera, like bacteria, completely lack a well-organized nucleus, but Protista, like the amoeba, they step it up a notch and feature a highly organized nucleus. Make a mental note of this massive distinction, for sure.
Then we have Kingdom Fungi. Okay, here's a massive, absolutely crucial rule for your exam prep. Never, ever confuse fungi with plants. I know. They might look like they belong on the ground right next to a flower, but because they completely lack chlorophyll, you know, that green pigment plants use to make food, fungi are heterotrophic. This simply means they literally cannot make their own food, and they have to rely on consuming other organic matter for their nutrition. Classic examples you definitely need to know are mushrooms and yeast.
Let's shift gears to Section 4, Plant Classification.
The incredibly diverse plant world logically breaks down into 2 main camps, and it's all based on reproduction. On one side, you have non-flowering plants that rely on spores, and on the other side, you've got your flowering plants that use seeds. It's really that simple.
Now, within those non-flowering, spore-producing plants, you need to pay close attention to this comparison between moss and fern. Seriously, this is high-yield exam material. While moss plants have stems and leaves, they actually lack true roots. Instead, they anchor themselves using these tiny, hair-like structures called rhizoids. Ferns, on the other hand, well, they're a step up in evolution. They actually have distinct, true roots, stems, and leaves. Remembering that specific word, rhizoid for moss, could so easily earn you extra points on test day.
Let's jump over to the seed-producing flowering plants. Differentiating between gymnosperms and angiosperms is an absolute classic exam question. Gymnosperms, think pine trees or cycas, they do not have a traditional ovary, so their seeds remain naked and totally exposed. Angiosperms, however, like a mango or a jackfruit tree, have an ovary where the seed develops, meaning their seeds are safely enclosed inside a fruit. Naked seeds versus covered seeds, that is the fundamental difference you need to lock in.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, Animal Classification.
The massive Animalia kingdom splits right down the middle, and it's based on one defining feature, the backbone. It's literally a structural pillar. Invertebrates, like insects or leeches, completely lack a spinal column. Vertebrates, like fish, frogs, birds, and humans, are physically built around a solid internal skeleton.
Now, if the exam zeroes in on invertebrates, there is a very high chance they're going to ask about the absolute largest group, insects. If a question asks you to identify insect characteristics, you must remember this exact checklist. An insect's body is always divided into 3 distinct parts: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. They possess jointed legs, and they have those incredibly complex compound eyes. If a creature doesn't have these 3 specific traits, well, it might be just a bug to you and me, but scientifically, it's not classified as an insect.
Okay, let's look at the vertebrates. Consider this your rapid-fire cheat sheet for vertebrate traits. Ready? Fish have scales and use gills. Amphibians have smooth skin and split their lives between land and water. Birds are exclusively defined by feathers, wings, and egg-laying. And mammals? They're defined by having hair or fur and producing milk for their young. Memorize these distinct markers, because I guarantee the exam will absolutely try to blur the lines between them.
To wrap up this explainer, let's see how much you've absorbed with a classic trap question. Based on everything we just covered, is a mushroom a plant or is it a fungi? Remember what we said earlier about chlorophyll? Go back and review your mental blueprints. Keep studying hard, and remember, a true cadet never stops questioning what they see. How will you tackle your next science problem? See you in the next explainer.